You know, I think about us, the three of us, what we could be. I think about it all the time.
Please. It's terrible.
No, it's not. I know June. She's my friend. I care about her. How's your day going? You look pretty.
Thanks. I wore it just for you. Her father's a driver named Nick. He helped me to survive. Yes, you can, because I can't lose you.
I'm not gonna let anything happen to you.
What about you?
Your girlfriend is a badass.
Welcome to Above the Garage, a Nick and June, the Handmaid's Tale podcast. Hi, friends. Welcome to our deep dive into Season 2, Episode 7 of The Handmaid's Tale, which is entitled After. This episode is intended for longtime fans because we are going to talk about the episode in the context of the show to date, which is through Season 4. Let's do our round of introductions and dive in.
Hi, I'm Ginger.
Hi, I'm Scarlett.
Hi, I'm Tina.
Hi, I'm Violet.
Hi, I'm Megan.
And I'm Kate. I just wanted to shout out, like I said earlier, how incredible I thought that opening scene was. And I always mean to talk about the crew, their actual names, more than I do. So I just wanted to shout out Anne Crabtree for the costumes and Carrie Skoglund, the director. Zoe White did cinematography in this episode. Martha Sparrow was the art direction. Renee Maxey wrote the episode. Bruce Miller, obviously, always gets the shout outs. I am sure I should be shouting out 35 to 700 other people that were involved in this episode, but it's just an unbelievable episode.
Excellent.
Okay. Who's got notes?
So I guess it's like a parallel or like a journey for Luke here. Because earlier in this episode, he doesn't seem very concerned that June could have been blown up, or he doesn't know the status of her safety. And I think it's more of him just, I don't know, trying to think positive about the situation. But it reminded me a lot of him in Season 4, Episode 3, when she's captured. And he's like, it's like a total opposite, because in that scene, he's very concerned and wondering if she's going to come back to him. So I do think it's interesting how he's kind of changed along the way here, like going from, she could have been blown up to, now she's captured and he's concerned about it.
And they're still different because Moira wants to go to that protest in Season 4, in the episode you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
And he doesn't. So they still have their different ways of dealing with, this trauma.
I wonder if Moira's journey in this episode kind of made him think more about that, though, like, because she does go through the whole process of finding out and then grieving. Like, I wonder, I don't know, maybe it's possible that.
No, and I noticed that I felt like their stories were kind of a parallel in this episode.
Yeah, totally.
Where neither of them know the whereabouts of the person they love, but Moira's does not end happy and Luke's does. It ends where he knows that June is alive.
Right.
So, yeah, maybe that helps him, or not helps him, but maybe that plays a role in him.
Like pushes him.
Yeah.
And Moira seems like fairly confident that Odette is dead. Why? Mm-hmm. I know that we have a little more information that she was rounded up. Why is she so sure that Odette is dead? I guess is my question. Do we know?
Yeah, I guess I don't get into that too much. Maybe just because she hasn't heard anything, and I don't know.
Her profession and the fact that we don't know if she had a baby, but Moira did have a baby, and that baby is what made her a handmaid and saved her life, because all the gay people, were killed.
Oh,
right.
That's right.
That's why she says they rounded her up in a dyke purge. Yeah. That's
That's right.
She just,
that's right.
I think, figured that it was a purge.
So do we know the timing of that? Like, what is the timing of that related to when, Luke and when June's saying we should have left when I lost my job and money, we should have gone with Moira, who left, like weeks earlier on foot to cross the border.
That was my doubt. Like, I thought that Moira and Odette would leave together, but we don't know. Like, they don't go into it as to how Moira leaves. Yeah, I really don't know when she got caught or how she got caught.
Or even if they both left together, they could have been caught, and then Moira was on the list of having had a baby.
Exactly. Yeah. But going into what Ginger was saying with the Luke parallel, I think we've talked about this before. Like, he kind of lives in this alternate reality, maybe, or he doesn't want to accept, or he's oblivious. We said it many times before, and I think it parallels also to, him not wanting to know, because if he knows, he's going to have to face that reality. But it kind of parallels to after the testimony, when he pushes to know, even though June doesn't want him to know, and then he just brushes it off like it was nothing. Like, okay, so now I know what happened, so now we can move on. Something there doesn't add up.
Yeah,
I agree.
I had a thing about just seeing the households hanging from the front of their houses as they're driving by, as June and the handmaids are driving by. And it just made me think, this is like really depressing, but it just made me think about like Nick's household in season 5. Like, I don't know, it's terrifying to like think forward to like if he's doing resistance stuff and
How risky it is.
how risky it is.
He's like a
Yeah.
Commander D.
I don't know. I just started like imagining his family like in that situation where they were at risk of having the same thing happen. It's sorry. I brought the whole mood down. Everyone take a shot.
I will say though, to counteract that, I would hope, because he is clearly very high up in the eyes, that maybe he could deflect that suspicion away from himself.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So maybe we can pull the depression away a little bit. And
Although I would like a little bit of each, because I want to see him like a little bit in peril.
You want to see him sweat?
Yeah.
I want to see him sweat a little and then deal with it. And I just want to see him like have to express like really intense emotions, because Max would be amazing at that.
Agreed.
Yeah.
But no more, I don't want him to be in so much more pain. He's already in
No,
enough pain.
yeah, you're right. But no more emotional pain.
How is that going to happen?
Yeah. It's going to be a lot.
It won't happen, but it's what we want. We're in fantasy land now.
Agreed. I do want that.
I would like to see him cry at least once. That's my like
I just want him to get pissed off.
I want him to get pissed off.
that too.
Yeah.
I was actually depressed that Cushing was like, oh, this is not a fantasy. I'm like, can't we just have our own little handmade fantasy?
Yeah.
Do we think that Nick now in season 4 is the head of the eyes?
The way he talked at the end of season 4.
I feel like he is of their district, at least.
Well, maybe, because in this episode, Price is the head of the eyes, but Price is also the head of the council that runs this district, the commanders. And Fred is the second in command. So Putman and Cushing are like just commanders there. But then Cushing just decides that he's going to take over security detail. But they don't really mean if it's the eyes or just security detail. So there I'm confused. And then once they arrest Cushing, Putman is the one that comes out. And I think that Putman is the head of the eyes now. So I'm like really confused. So I don't know if you guys have something about that or we're all just confused.
I thought Cushing was the head of the eyes, but I didn't think Putnam, I guess, was the head of the eyes. But
after he gets arrested, I mean.
Yeah, but he does seem like he's somehow a manager of the eyes or something, because of the way that he approaches him when he arrests him and what he says.
well, I guess he does in this episode, but I guess in season 4, I didn't get the sense that he had anything to do with the eyes. But again, they don't make that clear.
Maybe it was an interim thing because of the evidence.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, the bombing.
An official thing.
I was shocked when Nick came out, because when Nick came out at the end, like it seemed like he was definitely the head of the eyes, but I was confused because I remember that whole season. I remember I even asked somebody, I'm like, what is his status with the eyes? Because they don't make it clear. And then it seemed like he was at the end with Lauren.
I kind of wondered, like, because of the way that he is in these episodes, like going down his street, his block or whatever, talking to people and kind of commanding everyone.
Right.
Maybe there's like a sector, like there's like a district head or something that he's like in charge of, like a certain community of them. And that there's like his guys that are like,
or like the lower level eyes.
Yeah, they're like his team or something.
I would imagine isn't like, I mean, I don't know much about the military, but aren't there's different ranks in the military, right? And like as you go up, I would imagine it's probably very military based, which is confusing because they're all commanders. I feel like they should be like commanders and lieutenants and colonels to like really show the structure, but they don't do that. It's just like commanders and then eyes or guardians.
But I guess because the eyes are like a whole separate thing. So like anybody at any position in the Gilead structure could be an eye, but then they would have a completely different structure within the eyes, right? Like depending on
that's true.
I always thought he was undercover eye. Like people didn't know,
course,
right?
Yeah,
so I think everything that he was doing, like doing the streets, he was like the head guardian, not necessarily a head eye.
Yeah.
And I always wonder when not Cushing died, but when Price died, like
what happened?
Who knew that Nick was an undercover eye, and how did he keep in
Price must have had some kind of records of that, right? Like some kind of like secret record of who was what.
I think he doesn't have a record though, because I'm trying to think of, again, this is like, I'm thinking of police cop shows that I've watched. And I feel like when they have people who are undercover, like deep, like in the mob or whatever, I feel like they don't, I don't know,
have a record of it. There has to be like one backup person that knows, right?
Somebody has to know. You have to have
but
like a
it's
handler.
dangerous to that person to have the record, right? Because
true, that's true.
I'm thinking like of Alias. So like she's a spy, right? She goes into deep cover, but she has a handler who knows who she is in case she gets in danger. She can be pulled out.
Yeah, there's gotta be like one other guy that knows about Nick.
But what if your handler dies? Then where does that leave you?
Which is
right. So you have to have two. You have to have 2 point people, right? You have to have like the guy that's your manager, and then like one other person that like knows the secret.
Who is that other person? Is it Putnam?
Yeah.
We talked about how, they kind of play around with not knowing each other, the whole Price, like, do you know my driver? And he said like, Blaine, I think so. And then when Nick is desperate and asks for reassignment, he sees him and he's like, oh, hey, Nick. So it's clear that they know each other, that there's something there that obviously we won't be able to find out because, Price is dead. But
maybe we'll see it in a flashback.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Scarlett, did you have something on the thing you mentioned last night about Cushing and Serena's relationship? Didn't you say something about there was like a weird touch between them or something in the hospital?
Yeah, when in the hospital, when he asks her like, how are you, or something like that, and do you need anything, and she's like, just your prayers, and well, you have those. He kind of touches her hand, which is very un-Gilead like conduct. Like obviously they knew each other from before, but I think it was also kind of in a threatening manner, the way that he did it, and she felt uncomfortable.
Yeah, because she looked freaked out. Yeah.
So she already knows that there's something threatening there. That's why I kind of got that vibe that Cushing is just like she says, what does she say? A blowhard?
Yeah.
Blowhard.
Yeah.
That's it.
I had a thing about the hospital scene. So we were talking about when June kind of ducks into the little side room or whatever. And she kind of, he's like looking around, sort of making sure that they're not being watched or somebody's following him. And then she tries to leave and he kind of like stops her. And I think Ginger mentioned that it seemed kind of meek in that moment, the way that her reaction was.
Mm-hmm.
And that just made me think about a very similar kind of thing, in my opinion, in 409 in their reunion scene when she's like trying to apologize. Like, I'm sorry, I don't want you to get hurt.
Out of character.
When she's asking him about Hannah. And it just seems like it's a similar thing where she resorts to this kind of, it's almost like how she was before, just that kind of meek, apologetic personality.
It's pre-Gilead June.
Yeah. And he's like, no, like he shuts it down because he wants the real her. Like he wants her to know she can, she's safe with him and she can be honest. And I feel like in both situations, it's like, you don't need to apologize for this. Like, it's just, it's a very similar reaction.
This is you and me. It's not. Yeah.
And both times, as soon as he shuts it down, she goes back to the June he knows.
Normal.
Exactly. Because she realizes, oh crap. Like, and in the 409 one, like just the fact that to me that it shows like how she's resorting back to who she was before, like without him being there. Like she's back with Luke. And so she's starting to kind of act like she was before Gilead. And it's almost like she has to have a reality check in that moment of like, no, I'm here with Nick. Like, it's fine. I can be myself and be honest. Yeah. And that's the same thing in the hospital scene to me. It's a very similar emotion and response.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah, I hadn't seen it like that. I thought she was just worried about him. That's why she was apologizing. But that's very, very interesting. I like that.
I guess I never really thought about it before, but like rewatching the whole hospital kiss scene, I got a lot of the same vibes between them there as they were on the bridge in episode 3 of season 4. Like the fact that, first of all, like the trust, again, like I mentioned earlier, the trust between Nick and June in this scene, in this episode, where he says like, I'm not going to let anything happen to you. And she just accepts that because she knows it's true. Like, it's that same trust that they have on the bridge where he tells her like Hannah is safe and he's comforting her. He tells her that she loves her and she just believes him because she knows it's true. And she knows that when he says something, he means it. And also like the fact that he, in this scene, they're very vulnerable with each other and he lets her get her vulnerabilities out because she's terrified over seeing that Martha killed and what's going to happen to Nick and what's going to happen with Cushing trying to, go after them. And it was the same thing on the bridge where she's vulnerable because she just saw her daughter and it did not go well and she's a wreck and he's there comforting her. And then again, like just the whole body language between them is just, I can't deal with it. It's just so beautiful. But like, but he every time they kiss, like he's always holding her face or her neck. And he did the same thing on the bridge here where he's holding her face, he's wiping away her tears. Like, it's almost like their touch between them. It's like, I think I said this before, but it's like it's their love language. Like, it seems like they need to touch each other to feel better. Like, it gives them strength.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw that a lot in these because in this episode, like, their kiss is so desperate. And like, even their forehead touch is very intense, right? Like, they're just clinging to each other. And it was the same thing on the bridge. Like, when they're kissing, like, even though her hands are in shackles, she's like clutching at his face. So it's like the same desperation for each other, but it's like they need that from each other, you know?
I mean, they don't get genuine touch from anybody in Gilead. Like, it's all, you know, either rape or something horrifying. So it's that like actual real loving touch that they can't get from anyone ever. And it's like coming up for your first breath after drowning or whatever, you know, like, it's like, we've just been in this like horrible situation where we can't be ourselves physically, emotionally, mentally, like nothing. Like, it's just constantly an act. And then they get those like 30 seconds to like release all of that pent up, you know, everything that they're feeling and everything that they need to get out to like be able to go on and do the fake shit again.
And they release it hard. Like it's so intense
because they know they only have 20 seconds to do it in, so they got to get it all, you know,
and they make it worthwhile. Like, I even thought about like the scene in episode 6 in season 1 where she's upset about everything that happened with
the ambassador,
the Mexicans, and she's you know, in his apartment being vulnerable, and again he just lets her, and then he comforts her again with like touching her face and everything. And it's just, I don't know, I just love it so much. And I love how we see that theme through pretty much every season, because even season 3, when they're in the snow kiss scene, it's the same thing.
And, you know, Violet, like you were saying, not only do they only have 20 seconds every time they're together, every time I think they think could be the last time. And especially in this one in 207, you know, she's thinking there's a very real possibility that Cushing could catch him and kill him. And then in 403, you know, she's going off to the colony. She's never going to see him again. So not only do they have 20 seconds, but every time could potentially be the last time. And I think they think every time will be the last time. So they have to put all of that emotion and touch into the little time they have.
They're saying goodbye every time they see each other, basically.
Exactly.
And same thing in season 3, because he was about to go off to Chicago.
It's such a nod to the book too.
Yes.
I love that they carry that over.
And also to that parallel to 403, she's the one in this episode that kind of breaks off the kiss, upset, like that she has to go, like frustrated. Just like in the bridge, she does the same thing. And I always had that impression that she does it because, you know, you guys mentioned earlier, he won't be able to stop it. Like, he's just doing stupid shit. So it's also kind of a way to protect not only her, but him. You know, she does it in the bridge and she does it here too. So yeah, I had seen that parallel too.
It comes right back to her in the hospital saying, "What about you?" Like, it's the same kind of feeling of, he's not going to look out for himself. He's just going to be there for her in whatever way she needs that, physically, whatever it is. And so she's having to look out for him by breaking off from something that she knows is going to get them in trouble or get them killed.
And I think it's a nod to their coping mechanism, because I mentioned that in the last episode, that Nick wears his heart on his sleeve, right? And he's always the one that's like fantasizing about the 3 of them, and just, you know, he seems to have more hope, whereas June is always holding back because she's compartmentalizing. So I think that's, again, just a nod to, that's why she has to break off the kiss, because she's more emotionally, I guess, able to compartment. I don't know what the word is.
He's gonna like lose himself in the fantasy,
right?
Yeah, like
she has to.
He's more willing to lose himself, whereas she knows, she can recognize like, this is a risk. Like, we need to stop. So I have to be the strong one here.
Yeah.
It's funny though, because she's impulsive in other things and he's the smarter one. But when it comes to things like this, like their love and their kissing and such, like, she has to be the smarter one. And
right. It's reverse. Yeah.
Yeah. He's the.
It's like she's his, like, they're each other's strength, but they're also like she's his weakness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 100%.
But a good weakness.
Mm-hmm.
One that's worth it.
Yeah, but I mean, like he's not a risk taker that much. Like he's not very often willing to take risks.
Just this.
He is when it comes to her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's again like what you said before, Ginger, about like he like won't tell her what to do, and then when during the breakup, when she basically says like this is worth it to me, you know what I mean? Like it kind of follows with that, like he's gonna like risk everything for her because he knows that it's worth it to her. Right. But you know, she'll stop it before they get killed.
Yeah.
But like I feel like that's kind of following that. Like I feel like that was a turning point for him, was that conversation in the Jezebels episode.
Yeah. And I think even like you look at the whole bridge scene in general, like that was a big risk for him to even be there. And then like I felt like they were almost avoiding touching each other a little bit because technically people were watching, like they had his guardians or whatever they were, the eyes.
Yeah.
And then you had the van. And then when she ran back to him to kiss him, it was like, oh, like who cares at this point? Like, we may never see each other again. Let's just lean into it.
It's worth it.
I think he also just didn't know if it was like if she was going to be receptive to that after what had happened too. So, but yeah.
The recklessness of that decision of hers as she's she's walking towards the van and we know Lydia's in there. The recklessness of that decision, it adds a lot to the
everyone's watching
the romantic.
Yes, it does.
Totally.
And it's interesting though that like, you know, they just need like they are able to like fill each other's tanks with, you know, this 20 seconds each time of touching and kissing, and it's just very romantic.
I have a very small random comment to make. I just am sad that we see June and Moira's friendship in this episode, and it's so sweet and I love it so much, and it's not really a thing anymore, and it makes me very sad. Like in season 4 they don't really have that anymore. Like it's just a different dynamic between them. I mean, they're still friends obviously, but it's just they're really different in the ways that they're coping with everything, and so
their journeys are so different though. Like that's why
I think Moira is in a different stage of healing. You know, everybody heals different from their trauma, but she's also in a different stage of that. And I think in part it's because I think Moira was able to let go of a lot of things the moment when she was able to bring June to Canada. I mean, I know she felt tremendous guilt over the fact that she left her there. I mean, it wasn't her fault, but, you know, that has to weigh heavily on her. And just like in this episode, you know, she needed to know, she knew the possibility that Odette being alive was very slim, but she still needed to know, she needed to have that closure in order to move on after all this time. So I think it, you know, it just parallels to why their friendship is kind of different in a way in this moment in time.
Absolutely, yeah. But it just is like I'm mourning their friendship kind of because I love it.
I do too. I think though I feel like Moira and Luke now are the besties now.
I mean, it's nice that they have each other. I really like that they have each other, but it is sad that Moira and June have kind of grown apart in everything that's happened to them.
Right.
And actually, now that I think about it, it's almost like the roles change because you know, June and Luke were together, and then Moira was like the third wheel, I guess, you know, pre-Gilead. And then Moira in this episode was feeling lonely, but then she has Luke. And then in season 4, like it broke my heart for June because she got to Canada and she really was alone because nobody understood her. And it did make me sad that like Moira, you know, she related a little bit, but like she didn't understand. She doesn't know this new June. Luke obviously doesn't know this new June. And it just, now she's alone, and it just broke my heart too. On top of that,
I think June took comfort though in seeing Luke and Moira being close.
Oh yeah,
she was definitely on the outside, but I think that she was like, okay, so they
have each other. Yeah, they're okay. Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah,
but I think that's why her and Nick reuniting in episode 9 was even more powerful because he understands her.
He's her person.
He's her person,
and that was the first time, like. Especially since she last saw him, that somebody just understood her. And I mean, that's just, I mean, as a human, I mean, forget about the love story. Just as a human being, like you want someone to just understand you and not judge you. And that's what he is for her. And he always has been.
Well, and like, obviously we don't know what's going to happen in season 5, but like assuming that at some point 5 or 6, June is maybe gonna separate from Luke and Moira. Like, I don't know.
It sure seemed like that at the end of season 4.
Yeah, it seems like she's kind of like I guess it's in the finale. Wow, here we are. In the finale, her looking through the window and kind of realizing they're going to be fine without her. Like, I mean, I don't know. I feel like there's
It sure felt like it was a goodbye.
They're going to be okay. They have each other. Yeah, it's nice that they've established that bond so that she doesn't feel responsible for either one of them. Maybe, hopefully,
right?
We'll see. So I had one more thing actually about just the fact that Fred promoted, in quotes, Nick as a negative, as a fuck you, like with Eden and everything. And then the promotion seems to have caused him to be in control of the Guardians on their street, which then leads to him having more like ability to leverage that power at the end of the season when Holly / Nicole escapes. So I just find it like, it's just consistently ironic how Fred's like power moves, in quotes again,
backfire,
like against Nick, constantly like come back and bite him in the ass. Yeah, it's pretty great.
And then even again, right, when he promotes him to commander, and then
absolutely,
he ends up getting him murdered in the middle of the woods.
I love it.
Yep.
That's my favorite.
Poetic. Ultimate ass bite.
Exactly.
I also love too, like how June is she's like a boss, and when Cushing is getting arrested and she's all proud of herself, and it gave me like flashbacks to the finale where she's just a boss in the woods murdering Fred. Like, I feel like this is the start of her becoming what she ends up becoming.
Yeah, totally.
And she's above, like she's like located above Serena, I feel like, in this shot.
Yeah.
And I like that hierarchy when they're watching Cushing get taken down.
Yep. So when Rachel Tapping is reading the names of the deceased handmaids, and she mentions that they get the names from their source in Gilead, this is from I want to know who this source is in Gilead, because she said the same thing in 403 when she was talking to Luke about June being captured, and she mentions her sources. So it feels like it has to be Nick, but I want to know who these sources are and because we still don't know what Nick's real role is as far as Mayday or the Resistance or whatever. I just want to know like who these sources are, because they keep mentioning them, and I feel like it can't just be a throwaway thing. Like, it's got to be somebody. It's got to be Nick to me.
And I feel like it's somebody close to them, like even knowing what cigarettes Serena smokes and stuff like that for 12. I feel like it's Nick. That's my headcanon. There we go.
The thing with Tuello, like, is Tuello, do we know Tuello is like CIA or something? Don't we know something like that?
He's CIA.
Okay. So, I mean, they must have like some kind of operatives in Gilead, right? Like, it seems like they would be doing that. They would be trying to do that.
Think so.
But if they do have operatives, I mean, they definitely probably do, and they could. But I think of, like, for example, when June was captured in season 4, I mean, Nick would know.
Yeah.
He knows all about. He was there. I mean, and he's the head of the eyes, it seems like. So I feel like.
I wonder if they could have like grabbed him in Canada. Like,
you mean in 209?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think like when they would have like made contact and established him as a contact.
Or was he always one?
Yeah. That would be the ultimate, but it doesn't necessarily seem like that. But yeah, that would be the ultimate.
But like Nick works in this district, and he is an eye, and he works for Fred. So like he would know probably the list of the people who died, right?
Yeah,
and in season 4, he obviously would know the details about June being captured. And then I don't remember if there was any other scenes in any other episode where they mentioned sources, but I just feel like every time they mention sources, and then even like in 409, when Nick is talking to June about the pictures of Hannah, and he's like, my friendlies or whatever, the friendlies. So I just feel like there's these little tiny breadcrumbs that it just looks like maybe Nick is their source. And I'm really hoping that's where we go in season 5, but
I am too.
I was talking to Melissa the other day, and I think she noticed that when she goes to the diner to meet Lawrence, Tuello asks her, like, did he secure passage or something like that? And she says, yeah. So we were on that doubt, like, who secured the passage? Was it Lawrence or was it Nick?
No, Nick is in control of the border. So wouldn't it have to be him?
Exactly.
Okay. That's what I was thinking.
Well, and now all of a sudden she's got this connection to Lawrence and Nick, right? Like clearly she's got some sort of phone line or something. She can just call him and say, hey, bring Fred to the woods for me.
Yeah.
I really like that parallel at the end of this episode when June's clicking the pen, you know, in the similar manner as, you know, Offglen clicking the bomb in the end of the last episode. Obviously, we know that when the Sons of Jacob did their takeover of the American government, what they did was basically destabilize the whole government in order for them to be able to take over. And I think that's what, you know, this Gilead attack was trying to do. This is what Mayday was trying to do, because they knew the commanders were going to be there. So what better way to eliminate, you know, the power structure than to kill a whole bunch of commanders? Obviously, the bombing is a really violent act against, you know, a very violent society. But I think, you know, the way the show makes it a point to have women not be able to read and write, you know, that's basically have women not be able to be educated or to gather knowledge. You know, knowledge is power. So what better way to keep women in their supposed place in society than to keep them, you know, ignorant in a way. So I think it's really important how those two things are so powerful. You know, the bomb being so violent and just that fact that, you know, in order to keep people kind of at bay and in control, the first thing that you do is you take away their ability to question things and to learn. And unfortunately, we're seeing that, you know, there's so many books being banned right now in the United States, you know, so it's again, the show does this so well, you know, to parallel with what's going on in different parts of the world and in the United States too. So I think it's really, really interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's a wrap on our deep dive into season 2, episode 7 of The Handmaid's Tale. Thank you for listening, and come back next week when we talk about season 2, episode 8. Have a great weekend. Bye.
You know, I think about us, the three of us, what we could be. I think about it all the time.
Please. It's terrible.
No, it's not. I know June. She's my friend. I care about her. How's her day going? You look pretty.
Thanks. I wore it just for you. Her father's a driver named Nick. He helped me to survive. Yes, you can, because I can't lose you.
I'm not gonna let anything happen to you.
What about you?
Your girlfriend is a badass.